Hey Max Impactors, today I am going to go over an underused tool in your gardening arsenal, and it's one of these, the mini soil block maker. I've seen a lot of videos here on YouTube on how to use the micro soil block maker, which is the bigger size, it's a 2-inch size. Not very many videos show you how to use the mini correctly. So, through a lot of research and experimentation, I have a pretty good method of using these, and I'm going to show it to you right now. I really got into these mini block maker this year, and the reason why is I love this thing for one basic reason: space. You know, you don't have a whole, if you have grow lights, you only have a certain amount of space, and with the volume of stuff that I'm doing under the lights, this has become very handy because I can start stuff off in small blocks and then you can move them into bigger blocks, and then I can take them out to my greenhouse. So this thing has made it so I can up my volume of plants that I'm growing under the lights, you know, astronomically. The other thing I like about this is before you commit to a whole block with a plant, you can find out if it's going to germinate with this. So you're just taking all the germinated seeds and then you put them into the next one. And that makes this really handy because especially if you have seeds that are not, you know, so quality, you're not going to have a bunch of blocks like the regular size soil blocks that aren't being used or have anything growing in it. First, we're going to work on the soil. This is just the same as doing one of the micro blocks. Is we're going to wet your soil mix, whatever you're using. So I use a little Tupperware container like this. Seems to work perfect. It's perfect size. I'm going to just put it under here, under the water. I put it on spray mode and I kind of just get it all wet. Then I stop and I get in there and then I kind of mix it up, and I'll see how this looks. Okay, it's probably going to need just a little bit more. One thing, I tend to go for a little over wet, and the reason why is because when you use the block maker, you can actually press a lot of the water out, but if you make it too dry, they kind of fall apart. Alright, so this is looking pretty good. I think I got about the right amount of soil. If you come in here, you should be able to grab it, and you know, it drips a little bit as you squeeze it. Alright, so I have my mini here, and you're just going to start pressing it down. I like to do a little rocking motion. One thing I've learned about these is make sure you don't keep your hand on the handle because you'll pop them out by accident. And then you try to get as much in there as you can. Now, I have it down like this. Now, what I like to do with this mini is you want really tight blocks with the mini because they'll fall apart a lot easier. So I'll just go in and use my thumbs and kind of press the soil in here. And then maybe some of the extra, if you have some in some areas, which a lot of times in the middle you'll get extra, I'll just kind of push that into some of the other blocks and then really make it tight. There we go. Okay, this soil mix has a few little sticks of mulch in there. Alright, so that's pretty tight, and then I can kind of just take my hand and I kind of just make them flat, and it's going to make a nice tight mini block. All right, then we're going to bring it over here, and over here you're just going to use the little handle, pop them out. There you go. Now we got our little blocks. Now with these blocks too, I like to press them in a little bit like this with my hand. And the reason why is because the outside ones have a tendency to kind of lean over, and then you'll have a little gap between them. So I kind of just press them together a little bit, and that's perfect. Welcome back. I'm going to show you how to get seeds into the soil blocks. So I'm going to bring you down to the table so that you can see what I'm doing with my hands. To plant these seeds, I use just a pencil, but anything with a point will work. And what we're going to do is we're going to do some parsley seeds. And I like to take the seeds. Now I can do this two ways. If they're small seeds, I like to use a pencil. If they're bigger, kind of like spinach seeds, I can do it with my hand. But this is just going to help me get down and grab the individual seeds and get them in the spot. Now with some of the seeds, I like to add like just poke a little deeper hole in the top here, and that's going to help us get the seed into the block a little better. Alright, now that I've poked a little hole here and I have my seeds, all I do is I dip the tip in a little bit of water, and then that should make it so you can go down here and pick up just one seed. And I bring the seed and I put it in the hole that I just made in the soil block, and I'll just run along grabbing one seed at a time and putting in the soil block. That's what I said about the soil blocks that I really like, is it's very efficient, because you're going to put one seed, you're going to see which ones do sprout, and then you're going to use them to create your bigger blocks. Okay, so I put the seeds all in these little mini blocks, and what you can do is you can always just come along here and kind of pinch the tops here. And we'll tuck the seeds in just a little bit more. Now this isn't really required, but I think it helps, so I do it. Depending on how wet they are, you can just mist them. And I don't, with these mini blocks, I do all misting. Even when the plants start growing, I don't put it on, like the bigger soil blocks, you usually water from the bottom, you'll put it at the bottom of the tray and let them soak it up. I find with these mini blocks, they get too wet and they don't soak up enough of the water, so you end up overwatering them. Okay, so that looks pretty good. And the reason why is because I don't spray too much, because I'll come by and I'm going to show you what I do is I usually come by and check the wetness every day on them until they really sprout well. And then what you're going to do is you're just going to cover it up. So I got this plastic bag. You could use plastic wrap. You're going to see some of mine have actual lids. I use like a lot of takeout containers. So here's my little area where I'm doing some soil blocks. And as you can see, I have a variety of different containers that I'm using. So this was one. Okay, see, and here's one of the things that I showed you before, is I like to push the reason why I like to push the blocks in a little bit is because they kind of tilt over like that. I'll go in here and I'll see if it's moist enough. This one looks moist enough, and I just check them, and if it doesn't seem moist enough to me, then I'll just give it a little spray. Okay, these, same thing with these, you got to push them. Fell over a little bit. And I like to start them on a seed mat back here. If you look in the back there, this one's rosemary. Now I can see these sprouting, so I'll keep them on the mat for another day or two, kind of almost like until they touch the top. And over here are some that aren't on the mat. These are poke rice bowl. This was sushi. And you can see that these are starting to sprout. Now this one's plenty wet because you can see there's water on the bottom, so I'm just going to keep that there. And what I'll do is, in probably just a couple days with that one, I'll take it downstairs and put it under my light. After they've sprouted a little bit, and here I'm going to show you one of my things of parsley. There you go. This one's been in the blocks for about a month. Normally when they get the first leaves, you can put them in soil blocks, but I'm going to be putting these in the garden shortly. And what I do is, once you get a few leaves on these, and most of them are sprouted, I take them downstairs, I put, which is where my grow lights are. I put them under the grow lights. I just come by, mist them pretty much every day, because you'll see they'll dry out pretty quick. And when it looks good and, a little bit moist, I just put them back under the light, leave them there, and do that until they get to about this point. And at this point, you can take the micro block maker, and if you have the right press in the top, you could just take these and put them in the micro. The parsley, I think I'm going to just take these and put them right in the garden. I had some spinach that I did the same way, and they looked really good, but I wanted them to get a little bigger, like get into the main leaves. So I put them in blocks, and now I have them growing in our greenhouse at that point. Usually once I put them into blocks, I try to get them out in the greenhouse and from the light. Alright guys, well I hope you liked this video, and make sure you subscribe to our channel, press that like button, and share us with your friends. And we'll see you in the next video.